Recently in a live stream and even in the bed bucking video that I did on Micah Parsons, I briefly talked about Paul Whelan and why he is in the position that he is in. Well, this article that I'm going to read from CNN has just recently come out on Thursday, December the 8th, where he's questioning, like this guy has the nerve to question as to why more has not been done to secure his release. Now, for those of you who watched the video, I did like a little rundown or showed you an article of why he is in that prison right now and for the long period of time that he's in it for. He's probably going to end up serving those entire amount of time that he has placed down upon him. Because think about it, you're talking about a person who was a spy in espionage versus a person with weed, or a weed product, I should say, a weed byproduct. Let's weigh out, let's see which one is more dangerous. But this guy actually feels that nothing has been done, or that more should have been done for him to get out of that prison. I told people, I said, when you have someone who is a spy like that, who does stuff like that, especially if the person that you are a spy for is an enemy to that nation, you are a danger to society. So let me go ahead and see what they're talking about. Detained American Paul Whelan expressed his frustration that more has not been done to secure his release in an exclusive CNN interview hours after another detained American, Brittany Griner, was freed. Whelan said he was happy that Griner was released, but what do I tell you about that but? Told CNN, I am greatly disappointed that more has not been done to secure my release, especially as the 4-year anniversary of my arrest is coming up. Now, I want y'all to keep that in mind. He said the 4-year release of his arrest is coming up. I don't know if he got arrested in 2018 or 2019, but let's just say it was between those 2 years. Who was in office at those times? Exactly, 45. So why didn't 45 do anything to get him out of that position back between those 2 years? And that's a question that has come up quite often in the threads that I have read when it came to this story. I was arrested for a crime that never occurred, he said in a phone call from the penal colony where he is being held in a remote part of Russia. I don't understand why I'm still sitting here. The interview took place shortly after President Joe Biden, standing alongside Griner's wife Sherelle at the White House, also expressed regret that the U.S. had not been able to get Whelan out. Biden vowed the U.S. would never give up on him. U.S. officials said the Russians refused to negotiate his release. This was not a situation where we had a choice of which American to bring home. It was a choice between bringing home one particular American, Brittany Griner, or bringing home none, a U.S. senior administration official said Thursday morning. Whelan said he was surprised that he had been left behind. I was led to believe that things were moving in the right direction and that the governments were negotiating and that something would happen fairly soon, he said. Whelan, a former Marine who was a U.S., Irish, British, and Canadian citizen, was detained at Moscow hotel in December 2018 by Russian authorities who alleged he involved in an intelligence operation. He was convicted and sentenced in June 2020 to 16 years in prison in a trial U.S. officials denounced as unfair. U.S. officials have indicated that Russians refused to release him despite U.S. efforts at negotiations. And Whelan said he was told that because the Russians have accused him of being a spy. They put me at a level higher than what they did with Trevor, Reed, and Brittany. That raises a lot of concerns because none of it is true. And they're trying to get out of the United States, what the United States may not be able to provide. But this is basically political extortion, he said. He said he was aware that he was considered in a different category than Griner. The Russians have always said so. They've always considered me to be at a higher level than other criminals of my sort, and for whatever reason, I'm treated differently than other individuals from a Western country that's also on a charge of espionage. Even though we're both here for espionage, I'm treated much differently than he is, and my treatment is also much different than others held for espionage at other prisons, Whelan said. Whelan said he hopes that Biden and his administration would do everything they could to get me home, regardless of the price they might have to pay at this point. I would say that if a message could go to President Biden that this is a precarious situation that needs to be resolved quickly. My bags are packed. I'm ready to go home. I just need an airplane to come and get me, he said. Whelan said he would like to speak to Biden directly. noting he had spoken to an administration official earlier in the day about the situation, but I think that message really needs to go to people like the president so they understand personally what I'm dealing with and what we deal with in these foreign prisons and under these circumstances. It's quite obvious that I'm being held hostage, he said. Biden acknowledged that the Whelan family on Thursday, saying that the prisoner swap for Griner was not a choice of which American to bring home. Sadly, for total illegitimate reasons, Russia is treating Paul's case differently than Brittany's, Biden said. And while we have not yet succeeded in securing Paul's release, we are not giving up and we will never give up. The Biden administration has ideas about new forms of offers they are going to try with the Russians in an effort to secure Whelan's release, a senior administration official said. The official said there is a recognition that the U.S. needs to make available something more, something different from what they have offered to the Russians thus far. Whelan told CNN the president and his team are going to have to look at what they have that is available, that is valuable, that these people want, and hopefully give it to them or I'll be here for a long time. The official didn't count out the U.S. offering a Russian spy in U.S. custody as a potential offer, as Russia views Whelan as a spy. There is a willingness to pay even a very big price on the part of this president, the official said. We have made clear to the Russians that we are at least open to talking about which is at our disposal, that which we could actually deliver. It would be somebody in our custody. Biden spoke with Paul Whelan's sister Elizabeth on Thursday afternoon. She told CNN, describing it as a good call. She said they spoke for about 10 minutes and that she also spoke with the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken for about 15. She praised the release of Griner, saying that she didn't want the news of her brother being left behind to overshadow the good news about the WNBA player. What I'm also noticing is that there's a lot of people who are actually more so on the side of being glad that Brittany got released more so over Paul Whelan, even his own family members. I find that to be very, very interesting indeed. Elizabeth Whelan says she believes the Russians wanted to deny Biden a win by releasing both of the American wrongful detainees. Elizabeth Whelan also told CNN that she does not believe her brother knows the extent of the efforts to free him, noting the family has to be careful what they tell him because they assume the Russian authorities are listening. She also noted that the foreign country is also always going to paint news in their favor, so Paul Whelan likely won't know the full picture until he is freed. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications John Kirby said Thursday that the U.S. is not back to square one in its negotiations for Whelan's release. The article goes on more and more and more. It's a pretty lengthy article, but I'm going to stop right there because you pretty much get the gist of it. What got me, though, was when I saw the article posted on Twitter and I was looking at some of the comments and people were saying things such as, oh, he didn't get released because he's a white man. This is mainly PC posting this. He didn't get released because he's a PC man. Brittany Griner is, she's black. She's part of the academy and she's a woman and they put that on priority. I find it very interesting because these are the same people that said that they don't see race or racism no longer exists. But when they have an opportunity to try to sway that in their favor, then they'll use it. This is what we keep talking about when we say PC or WS takes both sides of the argument. On one hand, something doesn't exist because it goes against them, or goes for them, or two, it does go work for them because it does go against them. But if it's for anybody else, it doesn't exist. Like I saw so many of those comments saying, oh, he's a PC man, or he's a white guy. Brittany Griner is a black woman who is a part of the academy and all types of stuff like that. Like completely negating why he's over there in the first place. That's literally what a lot of them led with. I saw it so many times in those threads. When it came to CNN posting the initial article that I just read from. They, like I said, they take both sides of the argument. No surprise there. But again, going back to my first point in the beginning, this man was arrested in 2018. Again, 45 was in office during that time. When Paul Whelan ended up going to jail to start serving out his sentence in 2020, guess who was still in office? 45, because it happened in June of 2020 when he started to serve out his sentence. So again, why didn't 45 do something to try to get him out of that situation then? That's the question that I have. Again, this is no not giving any kudos or credence to Biden because as we can see, Paul Whelan is still over there. But if you want to find out where it really started at, it started with the previous administration. So there you go.